Hey everyone, it's Bradford, your carnivore curmudgeon, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I am an actual carnivore, but I am not an actual curmudgeon mostly. Thought I'd bring something to you a little bit unique today, sort of a tour of the farm, if you will. Unfortunately, it does seem like some of the carnivore, ketovore, and keto community is breaking up into different religious sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects. And you have the First Church of the Ruminants Only versus the Second United Church of the anything meat goes, including potted meat and everything in between. My personal opinion is whatever works for you. But I have had people in the recent past who do not know me, who do not know my life, who do not know anything about me, tell me that if I eat pork, I might as well eat nothing because it's trash. And who have told me that if I'm eating anything other than beef or lamb, then I'm eating inferior meats, and so it's not good for me. Even had a dietitian recently who I have never met, who is a friend of a friend, say they want to talk to me, and I'm gonna guess it's probably not to get some carnivore advice. Just a hunch. But anyway, the tour of the farm I'm talking about today is a recipe that I made a few years ago and decided to make it again, and it's stuffed chicken legs.
Oh my God, Muffy, he's going to serve us chicken. Scold him, Poopsie, scold him ever so harshly.
Even somebody who doesn't care for just chicken, who wants to get their beef in, they're gonna get beef, they're gonna get pork, they're gonna get another kind of pork with bacon, and they're going to get chicken as well as the chicken skin. So come along and let's see what we can get into. Now you're going to need some ground pork, but I didn't like the looks of the ground pork at the grocery store, so I bought this shoulder roast, this Boston butt, for 99 cents a pound, which is a whole lot cheaper than I could have bought the ground pork, which I believe was $4 a pound. And I have the ability to grind my own, so that's what I did. Got myself a pound of that pork shoulder off of the bone, and then I decided to, as I said, just grind it myself. Saved a lot of money, and the best thing is the rest of it goes into the crock pot for some pulled pork later. And in addition to the ground pork, a pound of it, as I said, you're going to need 2 pounds of ground beef. You can probably half this recipe because there's going to be some left over depending on how many chicken legs you purchase. I figured whatever was left over would make some delicious meatballs or a nice little meatloaf. But I stirred all of them together and then added my spices. And those spices consisted of, for this 3 pounds, 2 teaspoons of Redmond's real salt. Any kind of salt that you prefer will work. And 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of sage, about 1 teaspoon of black pepper, freshly ground or already ground, whichever you prefer, 1 teaspoon of rosemary leaves, or just a hearty sprinkle of it. And then we're going to need 2 eggs, scrambled up nice so that they incorporate well into the meat. And while I give that a real good mixing, let me tell you about a couple of other things with regard to this recipe. First of all, you're going to want to buy chicken leg quarters. Because you're going to remove the thigh and keep the skin from the thigh. It's really integral to this dish. Also, I'm going to bake these in the oven for the purposes of this video, but I have done this before and put them on my smoker, and they really come out delicious if you smoke them. But for simplicity's sake, and because it was so cold outside the day I was making this, I decided to just make them in the oven. These are some chicken leg quarters, $8.90 for a 10-pound bag, and I believe there were 8 leg quarters in that bag. And as I mentioned, we're going to make them in the oven, so we want to preheat our oven. I use the convect bake for this, but you can use regular bake if you don't have the convect bake feature. And we're going to set it to 350 degrees to preheat it. Now here we're going to tackle the chicken leg quarter itself. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that we do everything we can to save the skin off of both the leg and the thigh. So I'm going to take my time, get my fingers up underneath that skin to separate it from the meat and the silver skin. And then I'm just going to gently cut away as I go. As I said, just saving as much of the skin as possible, because that's key to covering up our stuffing part of the chicken leg itself. Take your time with this and don't let it intimidate you. The worst that can go wrong is the chicken skin splits or there's holes in it, but let me tell you, there's a difference in every single chicken leg quarter. So that's going to happen whether you do it perfect or not. But you're going to find out in a few minutes that we have a way to take care of and cover for any imperfections in our chicken skin. Now we're going to separate that thigh. I just take it and bend it and see where the joint is, and then I start cutting down. There's actually a seam that's pretty easy to see if you've done this a few times. But I'm going to bend it at the knee and then find that joint and just cut through the joint to separate the two. Did I mention that I'm only using the back legs of the chicken for this recipe? Really important. Okay, our thigh is removed and set aside for different uses. And now we're just going to take that skin and peel it back. The most important part of this is, as I said, reserving as much skin as possible. And we're going to peel it back to where it slips over the end, the nub of the chicken leg. Once that's done, we're going to start taking this meat that makes up the chicken leg itself, and we're going to start cutting it off the bone. And there's no real one way to do this, or one perfect way, or maybe there is, I don't know, I'm not a chef. I just know that I just keep trimming it back from the top of that bone and preserve all the meat that I can, and then slip it back so that it's going to make sort of a funnel-like cup to hold our stuffing mix. It just takes a minute. Take your time. And once you've got the leg meat peeled back, take the time to then remove that one little pin bone that's in there. You definitely don't want that left as part of this dish. That little guy can really fall into the stabby, choky category, so we definitely don't want it left. Now we're ready to remove the top 2/3 of that leg bone. We're going to leave a little handle for presentation mostly, and then, yep, that part just flopped right off of the table and onto the floor. Scared the dog. He's not exactly the bastion of courage, but take that bone off, and you can see that we're left with the nub and the skin, and we're just going to push it back up and reform our chicken leg. And we're going to want to get some bacon ready. Remember I said if it wasn't perfect looking, and it probably won't be perfect looking, we're going to cover it up. Bacon covers a multitude of sins. So here we go, ready to stuff our chicken leg. Grab the leg by the nub, pull the skin up as I mentioned before, and then put your fingers down in where that leg bone was that you removed, and make sort of like, almost like a chicken or an ice cream waffle cone. You want to make a funnel sort of shape, and then put your meat in the place of where the chicken meat used to be. Pull the chicken meat back up over the top of your ground meat mixture, and then pull the chicken skin down to cover it up. Here's a close-up of the second one that I did. You can see the holes in the skin, but that's okay because we're going to take this bacon and just wrap it around each chicken leg. If your chicken legs are smaller, then you may only need one piece of bacon. These were pretty ginormous, so I used 2 pieces of bacon. And you know, you can't go wrong with extra bacon, right? And even though the bacon sort of holds this together, you're really going to want to use some butcher twine and truss this up because it's probably not going to hold together and form, and it keeps that bacon from wrinkling, or not wrinkling, but curling up and getting everything misshapen and pulling away from the chicken leg itself. And here's how I do it. There's a couple of ways to do it. I tried both today, and this to me is the best way. Take a piece of butcher twine, wrap it around like you're going to tie your shoe, and then wrap it around again. Then when you pull it up tight, it will stay there and not get loose on you. And then just wrap it around one more time like you're re-tying your shoe. Cut off the excess, and then do it however many more times you feel you need to hold the chicken leg together. You know, this is sort of a fun novelty dish with our favorite thing, lots of meat, but this is not going to be something that somebody picks up like a piece of fried chicken from Aunt Bee's picnic basket and eats. This is going to be a knife and fork dish. So just tie it up however many times you have to, and it'll look nice when it's all done. And there it is, in all of its chickeny, beefy, porky, bacony goodness. And if you have one, put it on a baking rack on a baking sheet. Otherwise, just put it on a baking sheet. It'll be fine. And into the oven it goes. Now I start this, of course, on 350 where we've preheated the oven, but I started at 50 minutes and then I check it to see if it's done. I'm shooting for about 165 degrees at the centermost point because the chicken is on the outside, so if the inside is cooked, the outside is cooked. And I ended up, for this particular one, because it was so big, I had to go back into the oven for an extra 12 minutes before I got the temperature I was looking for. But once you get to 165, you should be good to go. And the result is a very beautiful presentation. It looks like a chicken leg wrapped in bacon, but then, of course, you got that hidden surprise and delight on the inside of the pork and the beef. And you can see what I mean by a tour of the farm. Pork, beef, bacon, chicken, it's even got egg in it. So what's not to like? This should satisfy even the most snobbish carnivore visiting your house. Here's a cross section of it. I sure had a great time making this, and I hope you'll give it a try some day when you have a little bit of time. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.